If you were a high school student who recently moved here from another country, an older white man might not seem like someone you could relate to or trust. Volunteer Phil Allison breaks through those perceived barriers and builds relationships with John O'Connell high school students. According to teacher Steve Bonacorso, students love Mr. Allison because he isn't what they expect. A student told me recently, "I thought Mr. Allison was going to be some stuffy old white dude, but he's actually pretty cool." When I asked why the student thought he was cool, he thought for a minute and replied, "He's nice to me, and he doesn't get upset when I joke around with him. Plus, if I do something wrong, he never puts me down. He just encourages me to try again." Phil has volunteered for 5 years, 2 of them with Mr. Bonacorso, who said even he had to put aside his preconceived notions. He was surprised that Phil wanted to work with more challenging students. "It was a great surprise. It would be easy for someone who is not too familiar with my 5th period class, which can be a little squirrely, to be drawn to work with the students who were interested and engaged with the lesson. But Phil does the opposite. He seeks out the students with their head down that don't seem engaged." According to Mr. Bonacorso, "Phil plays a critical role in my class. With 25 to 30 students at any given time, I am often running around the room trying to help every student I can. This becomes overwhelming for me at times. However, Phil has helped ease my load considerably. My curriculum is rigorous, but Phil always prepares ahead of time, just like the students, so he knows what they will be asked to do in each class and can help them accomplish their tasks." One story that stands out to me was with one of my students, Deshaun. He can seem like an intimidating young man. He is big for his age and is pretty anti-school right now. One day he was putting his head down, not wanting to engage in the lesson, and Phil approached him. The next thing I see from across the room is Deshaun is sitting up, smiling, and shaking Phil's hand. Phil builds relationships with the students and then uses those relationships to motivate them. When he worked with our English language learner students, his dedication and support helped students push themselves to learn English and to graduate on time. He also goes above and beyond. He brings his knowledge and passion for Latin American studies into the classroom. Earlier this year, he even constructed a lesson plan around his favorite poem by Nicaraguan poet Rubén Darío, and helped lead a discussion around a book called Open Veins of Latin America, connecting many students to their heritage and culture. "Mr. Allison may not know it," Mr. Bonacorso said, "but I have a student who worked with Phil last year who now wants to become a community activist, to be like Mr. Allison and help give back to the community. Phil is a role model to my students. He wants to see positive change in our society and school. That's one of the reasons he connects to the students. They get that he doesn't have to be here, he wants to.